Uh, Somebody asked me a question about the number of Brits. Are they leaving Spain? Are they panicking with the Brexit, etc.? Um, I have to talk about my personal opinion on this because one of the fundamental things is the information was taken over the last 5 years, and although they push this stuff, and this is why I brought it up in one of the comments, media manipulates the issue itself. So what they're talking about is you're talking about a drop of about 50%, but it's not really a drop of 50% because what you've had is before you'd buy a property here in Spain, you'd register yourself on the Padron, register yourself with NIE, etc., etc. That'd be it. Job done. So you're still in Spain, and the local governments did exactly that because you being there means they get more money relating to services for bin collection, school services, etc. Even though it's a holiday home. So what's happened is this is why the Padron is at 3 months on renewal, is because they use the Padron as a gauge to how many people are really here, which is one of the fundamental changes that they have had in recent years. But obviously, nobody brings that up in the media. They don't push that in the newspapers. What's happened is obviously the Brexit has caused 50% of the population to leave Spain back to the UK. If anything, a lot of the people I know well, would probably not want to go to the UK, but there's a lot of people that the cost of starting again in the UK is too expensive anyway. Um, so fundamentally, it's incorrect when actually saying about 50% of the population has gone back to the UK because 50% of the population wasn't really there. I would actually say the amount of people engaging with me about coming to Spain has actually increased over the last few years. On top of that, I'm finding La Mata is busier. I'm finding Torrevieja is busier. And when I look at a lot of other places, it seems that there's actually more going on, not less. Now, is it more people are going on holiday in Spain? There's a mix of that going on because obviously things like various things around the globe putting people off more exotic destinations has led to more people coming to Spain for safety reasons. But I would actually say that 50% of the population suddenly giving up routes and heading back to the UK is not actually correct. I don't know what the exact real figure is, but neither does the Spanish government and neither does anybody else because, in honestly, we've got a lot of Brits here that aren't even registered. So they're saying the population is down to 200,000 from 500,000. But in honestly, who knows? Because a lot of people work cash in hand. A lot of people are not registered as living in any properties. There's no padrons that are updated on those properties, which means the property is actually listed as vacant. At the end of the day, there is no paperwork associated with it. So from that point of view, how can you turn around and say that there is somebody living in that one when the padron's not updated? Yet you've got another house next door which is owned by a British couple that come in, bought the house last month as a holiday home and gone back to the UK. The only way you're going to know it's empty is once the padron expires, once the 3 months is up. So I don't think anybody really knows, but just be aware of that in the media. When they say, it's all doom and gloom, I have to turn around and say, you know what? I don't think you have enough facts because nobody really knows. Now, what reasons would people go back to the UK? First one is I know some people have had issues relating to specialist treatments, specialist medicines and stuff. I remember talking to somebody about it was a cancer patient, and for some reason the medical stuff wasn't covered. I'm not sure why, whether it was his age or something, because a lot of long-term illnesses, a lot of this stuff's already set up, but I haven't really investigated it too much, but I know from that conversation that the guy had actually registered as self-employed because it was cheaper to play self-employment and get the treatment and medical cover for free. But in there's things like the S1 and which is like a transfer of medical from UK to Spain, which is covered under your payments through national insurance contributions, and there's different criteria, and it's a bit of a minefield, because even when you try and talk to people in the UK, they often aren't conclusive with things. So it's not something I've spent too much time on. Let's put it that way. If somebody says to me, Matt, am I entitled to free medical care? I would have to say, for what? Because then we'd have to define whether it's a slip down the stairs and slipped a disc, or is it a case you've had your leg cut off before you arrived? They're completely different scenarios. Long-term illnesses often are covered, and short-term ailments aren't. At the end of the day, you're supposed to have travel insurance, medical insurance, etc., to cover those sort of things. So there is different things, but we'll cover that on something else. Death of a partner is a major one, because what you've got with that is there's a reliance. When you're together as a couple, you end up relying. So Bob and Marjorie, if Marjorie passed away and she normally drives everywhere, does the shopping and stuff, Bob may not be used to doing stuff himself. So in that case, he might go and live with his daughter or whatever, and they head back home. In the same way as one of the YouTube there's a couple that actually subscribe to his channel, they have a relative that's actually sick in the UK. So they've had to pack up their ideas in Spain and head back to the UK to deal with the problems there, because they basically got to look after somebody that doesn't want to go into a care home, who isn't competent to live on their own. So you get things like that happen. But in all honesty, the biggest thing about being conclusive on information, you will find that in these news articles, they will say allegedly, possibly, could have, maybe, likely, our sources, according to some statistics, blah, blah, blah. They're all bits of information that are not conclusive. So when people tell you that half the population's gone back to the UK to make it all flag waving sort of stuff, be aware, all those people were never here anyway. They were here on holiday. They bought a holiday home. They come here twice a year. They were never living in Spain, but they were on the electoral roll. So bear that in mind. So I hope that answers the question that somebody did ask me relating to that thing. Thanks for watching.